So, hello everyone and welcome along to TGP2 Season 22. We are here today at Singapore for the first of two races tonight. First race at Singapore, like I've just mentioned, and the second race is Australia. We've got a few new names to mention about, mainly because of the PSN name change thing that came in recently. So, I'm just going to quickly go over the new names now. So, no change, Smokey J's, Dan Scarp, no real change there. Knighton is TGIP Plays previously, he is now Speed Knighton, so watch out for him. He is the championship leader going into tonight on 181 points. Dan Scar is currently second in the championship on 124. Goings, same as Noyle. ILR Reader is, he is Howitzer, so he's formerly Howitzer, so he's now going to be known as Reader. We have James Botham, that's quite an easy one. He was AFCB James, he's now James Botham, that's an easy one to remember. Angel vs Death is the old Michael Kenny, so he is now Angel vs Death, was Michael Kenny. And we've got Elite Shots, same as normal. Speed Senna is now, he was the old Sim Racing Davies, he is now Speed Senna, will be known as Senna. And Sayer Sports is the old Joe Sayer. So that's the roundup of the name changes. We've got about 3 minutes to go in this session. As you see, Dan Scar just pulling into the pit lane. We've got Smokey J's in the pit lane, Speed Knighton in the pit lane, a lot of drivers in the pit lane, basically everyone at the moment in the pit lane. Try and find someone out on circuit. Michael Kenny, also known as Angel vs Death. We are here. But yeah, 2 minutes and 52 to go here. We're here at Singapore. We're going to have a quick rundown of the championship standings. So, Speed Knighton is the championship leader on 181 points. Then we have Dan Scar in second on 124. Chris Johnson, who's missing tonight, is third on 91. Luca Chiapelli is fourth, Mr. Chiapelli. He's fourth in the championship, last season's champion. And Speed Senna, that is the old Sim Racing Davis. He is currently P5 in the championship on 68 points. I'd like to bring in Softy now. So hello Softy, how are you doing tonight? And what do you think is going to happen in this qualifying session as we get towards the end?
Well, I think it could be interesting to obviously say a Sports Joe Sayer retires there, but to be honest with yourself, I'm looking forward to tonight's races. I think throughout this season it's been very interesting. I think anything could happen, especially with Singapore. Obviously it could rain and potentially a chance of rain at the end of the race. So to be honest, I'm just sort of buckling my seatbelt and waiting to see what will happen. Yeah,
getting ready to go into the last 2 minutes of the session now, just following Goings on his outlap. A lot of drivers just coming out the pit lane to start their final runs in this session here. So 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes to go. So we've got Smokey J's currently sitting on pole with a 35.2, Dan Scar in second on a 35.9, and Knighton in third on a 36 dead. Like to see quickly what sort of tyres they had for their best laps. So Goings did his best lap in fourth on the Ultra Softs. Everyone else pretty much down the field apart from Bazza is on the Hypersofts for their best laps, but everyone's out on the Hypersofts at the moment, bar Mr. Chiapelli actually, according to this graphic I've seen. So that's quite interesting. Quite interesting indeed, Softy. So is alternate strategy maybe for Chiapelli there?
It could be potentially. I mean, obviously he did his best lap on the Hypers, so I mean, unless his Hyper lap was, you know, not the greatest, I mean, it could go either way, to be honest. I personally think maybe he's 1.8 seconds off on obviously his best, or well, at least his best of what he's done so far. If it was a rubbish lap, then potentially he could start on the Ultras if, of course, he has the pace. But again, he doesn't want to take too much out of the circuit because it will bite him back.
Yeah, so Goings just coming through the first couple of corners now. He's going to be the first one to cross the line of the top five at the end of this lap. So it'll be Goings, Chiapelli, Smokey J's. I think it'll be Dan Scar and then Knighton. If you could have a quick look for me, Softy, and confirm the order of them two, that'd be great. But Goings just finishing up towards the end of the first sector. So gets a decent sector time there. Coming round turn, I think that's turn 8. Going around turn 8 there. Heading towards turn number 9. And now heading along this back straight, little back straight, down towards turn 10. Yes, I was right. Down towards 10. Used to be the old Singapore sling. Now it's just a fast sweeping corner into quite a difficult chicane onto the Anderson Bridge, I believe. And then round turn 13 onto the main back straight. Quite a difficult circuit, Singapore, isn't it? As we're just finishing off the session now, Softy.
It is, yeah. I mean, again, you know, you can't take too much out of the circuit or you'll end up in the barrier. And to be honest, quite surprisingly on the past 2 games, the curbs, you either need to ride the curbs very gently or avoid them at all. And to be honest, you know, looking at goings on board at the moment, going through the chicane and going into the under the grandstand, again, some of these curbs, if you hit them wrong, they will bite back and it's just going to go downhill from there.
Yeah, so Goings coming out of the final chicane, just got 2 corners left to go. He's going to sweep it around this double apex left-hander onto the main straight. What does he do? He doesn't improve, so let's see how he does. Bossman Sean has jumped up into 4th. We've got Chiapelli next to come across the line on his ultra soft tyres. I don't really think he'll improve, but he might be going for the alternate strategy in this race by improving on his time, because his quickest so far is on the hypers. So coming across the line now, and he doesn't improve. So next one to follow is Smokey J's, and Smokey J's improves his time to a 35, a 35.1 that is. Dansgaard is next to come across. No, Knighton's just in front of him actually. Knighton, what does he do? Knighton does a 35.7, doesn't improves but doesn't go pole. And Dansgaard, I didn't see that at the end.
He went second. Dansgaard, I think, went second on that one.
Yeah, didn't quite catch the end of that lap. Quite missed it. I didn't realise how close Knighton and Dansgaard were in the end of that session. But Smokey J's goes on pole by looks of it, some margin. We'll have to see the times now, but very impressive by Smokey J's in his Renault Softie.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, best way to start Singapore from the front. You don't want to get mired in the traffic, especially through this sort of turn 1.
Right, so Smokey J's is on pole by a whopping 4 tenths, nearly 5 tenths over Dansgaard in second in his Ferrari. Then we have Knighton in third, Bossman Sean in fourth, Goings rounding up the top 5 in the other Renault. Then we have Mr. Chiapelli in sixth, Reader in seventh, Dizek in eighth, Baz in ninth, James Botham in 10th. Then we have Dom Smith in 11th, Red Bull Kim in 12th, Angel vs Death in 13th, Sayer Sports rounding out the qualifiers in 14th, and then at the back of the grid we have Marco, Elite Shots and Senna. So what are your predictions for this Singapore Grand Prix? There's only been 3 winners so far this season, so what are your thoughts going into the race?
Well, I mean, going on qualifying, you've got to say Smokey J is definitely by far the quickest, 4 tenths on pole. And again, as I was mentioning just a moment ago, it's best to start from the front. You can control the field. If you want to go slow, you can go slow and, you know, be fast where you need to be.
So, getting ready for the drivers to make their final few changes before the race here in Singapore. We heard from the Milton Keynes Data Centre, thank you Red Bull for that one, that it will be rain towards the end of the race possibly, so maybe inters might come into play or even full wets depending on how severe the rain comes down. So, getting ready to go. They're having they're having their oranges before the race, getting all their energy and hydrating themselves, ready to go for a long old race here at Singapore. 15 laps, I believe, Softie. So it's going to be very long indeed.
Without a doubt. And also, I must point out, Bazza started on the alternate strategy.
Yeah, so the lights are coming on. We've got 4 lights, 5 lights. Lights are out, and we're away here in Singapore. And it's a decent start from the front row, guys. Decentish start. Swamped there is Bossman Sean. A bit of contact there between Chiapelli. Oh, it's getting a bit scrappy in the background. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but we'll follow the leaders as we see round. It is currently Dansgaard in second place, and that's a spin.
Goings made contact.
No, not quite. Goings just about holds it, but Smokey J is just walking off into the distance. 1.7 advantage already. Dansgaard is in second. Knighton looking down the inside into towards turn 7. Gets the move done. He's up into P2. No, he runs wide. He's not quite over and done with yet. Dansgaard trying to hold it round the outside. Doesn't get the move done. Now he's going to get swamped by Goings. And that's Reader in 5th place. So the top 5 is Smokey J's, Knighton, Goings, Dansgaard and Reader top 5. Again. What was that, Softie?
Chiapelli getting a bit of contact, I think, with Bossman Sean.
Yeah.
But he's managed to keep it out.
Yeah, in the midfield seemed like quite a scrappy start to this race, but a decent run so far. Couple of positions gained by Goings at the start. Bossman Sean is the big loser at that start. He lost about 4 places, I think, there.
Definitely, and obviously at the moment at least it actually shows.
Reader, what are you doing there, sunshine? Just diving up the inside of Dansgaard. I think he got the Blaking completely wrong for that corner. Dived up the inside of Dansgaard, and suddenly he's in the barrier, and that's his race over and done with. Not a good start to the race from Reader there.
Definitely not. And actually looking at the back of the field, Angel v Death, obviously Michael Kenny and Seiya Sports are both missing half of their wings, as well as Speed_Senna. So they've clearly had a bit of contact throughout this race at the moment.
Yeah, but after the first lap, Smokey Jays has a nearly 3-second lead over this battle for second between Knighton, Goings and Dansgar. The two championship rivals of Knighton and Dansgar have got Goings right in the middle of them at the current time. We're following with Goings as he's right in the middle of this battle, going to try and make a move on Knighton heading onto this back straight. He's not going to have DRS this time round, but maybe use the overtake mode.
He's got a good run.
He's definitely got a good run, as Softy said. He's going to try and duck it down the inside at 7. Can he get the move done? Bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. They both go wide, and Dansgar says, thank you very much, and I'm going to take P2 in this race.
Definitely. A few people in the pits now. Bossman Sean, Dom, Senna, Angel v Death and Seiya. A few different strategies playing out here with the wing damage.
Yeah, definitely a few different strategies playing out indeed. Got Knighting heading up the inside at Goings, back past Goings once again. They've been swapping places, and that has just meant Dansgar has actually built a little bit of a gap on him. He's up to 1.2 seconds clear now, Softy.
Definitely. Again, Smokey J's really pulling a gap in front of everyone, and also Dansgar. He's got a bit of a gap, and I must say though, the big question for this race is actually Bazza in 5th. He's on the Ultras doing the opposite strategy, and to be honest, while Smokey J's, well not even Smokey J's, but Knighton and Goings hold each other up, it's playing right into Bazza's hands.
Yeah, with me, oh, a little bit of contact there. I've just switched to James Botham versus Chiapelli, and Chiapelli and Botham have a little contact there. And Chiapelli has got the move done. He's up into P6, but not the cleanest of moves from either driver there.
No, definitely not. I actually missed it on my camera. I was actually busy watching, Goings to see if he managed to get any sort of run on Knighton, but sadly not. But yeah, a bit of a... there's a lot going on in this race so far. Yeah,
been a hectic first couple of laps. We're on to lap number 3 here at Singapore. Quite going to be a long old race though. We've got a 3-second time penalty for Bazza. But like I've just said, a long old race here in Singapore in the day, so the humidity is going to be high for the drivers.
And Seiya's out. Seiya's just crashed and lost his wing.
Okay, so that's not good news for the returning Joe Seiya. First race of the season, and he's not had the best of starts. Goings is not quite close enough this time to be able to make a move on Speed Knighton, and he's going to sit down in 4th position. Speed Knighton is 3rd. The Smokey J's, Goings is out!
Goings is out.
Yeah, Goings is out, like I just said, Softy. Goings is out. And I was on board with him at the time, and literally what he did, he just clipped the outside wall and it ripped the front wheel off. It was a really bizarre accident, actually. Very bizarre
not accident. The greatest. Not the greatest at all. And I must say, James Botham has left the session as well, so his P6 is now been taken by Elite Shots. And I must point out, while Seiya Sports was losing half his wing, also Don Smith has also lost his wing, and they have both pitted in tandem.
Okay, so that's not a day for the Red Bull guys. Down in 14th and 15th, no points for them so far in this race, and the field is kind of spread out at the moment. So let's have a quick rundown. So we have Smokey J's quite comfortably into the lead. Well, I say quite comfortably. There's suddenly a Ferrari all over the back of him now, which is quite interesting.
Yes. So clearly must have made a mistake because he was 4 seconds ahead a moment ago.
Yeah, clearly made a mistake. He's peeled into the pit stop, so that's going to be his first stop of the race. But Dansgar's got quite a big lead over his teammate Bazza in 2nd now. Chiapelli is 3rd, and Speed Knighton's jumped into the pits as well. So the rounds of stops already here. Quite early stops here in Singapore for these drivers, isn't it, Softy?
Definitely. However, to be honest with yourself, again, the undercut on this game is quite powerful. If you don't get in traffic, you can very easily make it work, to be honest. So, especially on a track like this, track position again is pretty important. So, if you can get that gap and jump someone, it's definitely worth the risk.
Yeah, as you can see, just watching Bazza there, it's a very actually appalling day for Red Bull Racing, as Seiya Sports is already a lap down on pretty much the whole field. He's already miles back, even from his teammate. It's just not been a good day for the team, Red Bull, and I don't think they're going to score any points. But you never know, it could end up being a race of attrition, like a bit like Baku was this season, but I don't see it as much. I think the drivers are a bit more composed and learnt their lessons from Baku.
Definitely. Obviously, you have to be on this circuit. It's a lot less forgiving than Baku in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely a lot more forgiving than Baku, as you would say. Got a bit more runoff in places, as we see Chiapelli starting to close in on the back of Bazza for P2 in this race. but neither of these guys have stopped yet. Smokey J's is just passing Red Bull Kim, and he's got past.
I was watching that.
Yeah, I'm guessing he just dived up the inside of the hairpin. Red Bull Kim.
Red Bull Kim actually let him through.
Oh, okay. Red Bull Kim let him through then. So, bit of sportsmanship between the two Danish drivers I see there. So, Red Bull Kim down into 5th place. Smokey J's back up into 4th in the net lead. As we see Chiapelli is in. So we see Bazza running round P2, decent run for the Ferrari drivers. I'm trying to see if there's any battles, and yeah, Speed Knighton has just passed James Botham. So Knighton's up into P6, Botham down to P7. And that's about it really, battle-wise at the moment, as Chiapelli's got to come out behind Smokey J's. All normal things happening, I think Smokey J should come out in front, but he's just picked up a 3-second time penalty, Softy. And that's not exactly what he wanted, but I think he had enough of a gap. Meanwhile, Knighton has come out and just sweep round the outside of Chiapelli, so that's where Chiapelli has come out in all of this. He's come out just behind Knighton, actually, I think a little bit closer than what he was before.
Definitely. Again, as I said earlier, undercut, it's worth it. You may struggle at the end, but again, you get that position. You can hold them off quite easily, to be honest.
Well, I think actually the overcuts slightly worked there for Chiapelli, because Chiapelli's a little bit closer to Knighton than he was before the stops. But anyway, we carry on. So we have Chiapelli sitting there, about 1.5 seconds behind. Not really any battles brewing in this race. On that 5 here at Singapore, and yeah, ready to go for more laps around Singapore. I'm running out of ideas. There's not a lot happening at the moment, Softy.
There's not, no, but again, I think it is everyone the fact that the pit stops are out of order for everyone, but I think it may close up at the end. I mean, you've got Knighton behind Red Bull Kim, and to be honest with yourself, I think you'll probably catch him quite quickly in the next lap or so. Well,
Dansgaard's just peeled into the pit lane. Bazza continues on. So that's that one. It's to be interesting to see where Dansgaard peels out compared to Smokey J's. So yeah, who's that? Oh, Bossman Sean has retired. That means John Smith is going to pick himself up into the point. A new fastest lap by Smokey J's.
He must have caught the wall on the exit because he's missing his left wheel.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So Smokey J's comes out in front. Dansgaard is a little bit further away, actually, staying out that extra couple of laps, because just before the stops they were literally, Dansgaard, I think Smokey J's have made a mistake somewhere and Dansgaard was right on the back of him, but the gap's gone back out again, and now we've got to watch out for, I think, Knighton. The next move that's going to be happening is Knighton passing Red Bull Kim. Red Bull Kim has not stopped in this race at the moment. He's just waiting, I think, for Bazza. I'm going to have a quick look and see who's stopped. Yeah, Bazza and Red Bull Kim are the only two guys not to have stopped in this race so far. And Red Bull Kim,
I think, maybe letting him through. He does.
Yeah, he is letting him through. So, got a couple of interesting strategies going on that field as well. We've got Senna on softs, Marco on softs. We've got Elite Shots on softs. There's most of the rest of the field are on ultra softs at the moment.
Yeah, and I must point out as well, Chiapelli's now ready to overtake Red Bull Kim, and it looks he's a lot closer to Knighton than before as well. So potentially Chiapelli's having the pace at this point in the race.
Yeah. Is Red Bull Kim going to do the same courtesy that he gave to Knighton? Yes, he is. Lets him pass. Doesn't really feel the need for a battle. I don't blame Red Bull Kim for that, to be honest. He's on a different strategy. It's easier to let him pass and just continue on with your own race, isn't it, Softy?
Without a doubt. Again, if you know you're not in a battle, there's literally no point in wasting your own time and potentially getting damage. Just let the car through and focus on yourself.
Yeah, so coming on to lap number 7 in this race. Not the most exciting Singapore Grand Prix we've ever seen in the world, but it's still been quite an interesting race so far with the strategies playing out. Chiapelli is starting to claw a little bit of a gap on Knighton. He's about 1.2 back. I think it was about 1.6 at the start of the lap, so he's starting to gain some time on him, and maybe that battle could be brewing anytime soon, Softy.
Without a doubt. I mean, looking on it, as far as I can tell, Chiapelli's pitted 1 lap later than Knighton, so that may come in as a benefit towards the end of the race.
Yeah, well, Knighton did a bit of an interesting line on that straight, actually. He maybe thought Chiapelli was a lot closer to him than he actually was, and went defensive when he didn't really feel the need to, in all honesty. but this is probably the closest battle brewing on the circuit. It's between Knighton and Chiapelli. We're on board with Chiapelli now as he heads towards the old Singapore Sling. Gets through there pretty cleanly indeed. But yeah, Softy. Guys on the Ultra Softs, guys on the Softs, as Saya Sports has retired from the race. But guys on the Ultra Softs and guys on the Softs, maybe the Softs could possibly come back to the guys on the Ultra Softs towards the end of the race.
But potentially, yeah. I mean, I think the difference between the two tyres, I think it is too great to matter a huge amount. However, you never know if it rains. You know, anything can happen, really.
Yeah,
anything
that is
a
thing to bear in mind. I forgot about that, Softy. According to the Milton Keynes Weather Centre, thank you to Red Bull Racing for that one, that it could possibly rain towards the end of this race, and that could make it very interesting indeed.
Without a
as
doubt.
Dansgaard has got to within a second of Smokey J's. So now we could be having a battle for the lead, well, net lead of this race anytime soon, as Bazza's still yet to make his stop. I think Bazza's on the Ultra Softs. I'll have a quick look now. I believe he's on the Ultra Softs. Yes, he is on the Ultra Soft tyres, which means he's going to be staying out long in this race and trying to maybe wait for the rain to come. That's what he's probably waiting for now. He's just going to try and stay out at the back of Smokey J's, isn't he?
And Chiapelli has got DRS from Knighton as well. Not quite close enough, but he's now getting that DRS, which is going to pull him along. So that should be an interesting battle in a few laps if Chiapelli doesn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, it could be a very interesting battle, but we're going to keep an eye on this lead battle that is potentially brewing. Dansgaard looks like he's got more pace than Smokey J's at this portion of the race. We're about halfway through now on lap number 8, and he's just edging ever closer and closer. It keeps fluctuating between about 7/10 and a second at the moment in this gap, but Dansgaard is maybe smelling blood on Smokey J's.
Without a doubt. I mean, again, this is realistically the race for the win between these two, and I mean, at this point in time, Smokey J's looks like he's a bit ragged. I can see, puffs of smoke from when he's lopping up, and Dansgaard on board with him, very smooth. He's the one that's ready to attack, and it's always best to be the one that's attacking rather than defending.
Yeah, well, the gaps are getting quite small between the two battles. Knighton and Chiapelli is a battle brewing for potentially a net third place in this race. And we've got Smokey J's and Dansgaard brewing in the battle for the lead. And it's getting very close now as they head towards turn 1. Dansgaard is all over the back of Smokey J's now. So, there's a poor exit actually from Smokey J's. He's going to have to defend up the inside into turn number 4, I believe. And he just about holds on for the time being. Bazza can see his teammate in the distance. Maybe he can help him out in a bit. There's wheel-to-wheel contact between Smokey J's and Dansgaard. Heading towards turn 7 now. Down the inside, Dansgaard goes, and he's got the move done, and he's up into the lead of the race. Little bit of wheel banging there, but nothing too major there from the two guys. And it ended up being fairly cleanish move from Dansgaard in the end, Softy.
Yeah, without a doubt. Textbook. Take enough speed in there that the other car that's on the outside has to back out. Fair play to Smokey J's. He didn't try and hang it around the outside, which could have been a disaster. Yeah, fair play to both of the drivers there. Yeah,
and now we're going to look at this battle between the Sauber and the Mercedes. Knighton versus Chiapelli. Chiapelli all over the back of Knighton now. Dansgaard is starting to pull away from Smokey J's, so I think that battle is pretty much over and done with for the time being. But we've got Chiapelli all over the back of Knighton now. He's going to have DRS down this straight, I believe. Heading towards, is he going to have a lunge up the inside? Oh, he sort of went for it, sort of didn't. It was quite half-hearted from him, Softy, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, but again, you've got to do that sometimes, especially when you've got the pace. You need to put him off, distract him. He could have very easily ran wide there, but fair play tonight, he didn't. But yeah, sometimes, you've got to do that just to put him off the rhythm.
So, coming round towards the end of the lap now, we've got Chiapelli coming round the end of the main straight. We've got Smokey J's and Dansgaard leading 1-2. Knighton is in third as Bazza peels in to make his stop. So this is the closest battle on the circuit now. It's Knighton versus Chiapelli, who gets a very shaky ride into that corner. Did he lose a little bit of his front wing there, Chiapelli? No, I think he's just about okay. Just about okay for the time being as they head down the back straight now. James Botham is a lap down car. He's going to stay out of the way of this race. As we see, and that's actually helped Knighton a bit, because I think he got DRS off that car.
Potentially, yeah. And actually looking at it now, Speed Senna has actually overtaken Red Bull Kim. and he's got the DRS, so that should be an easy move now to just pull away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a few little battles going on, not a huge amount, but you know, I think the battles that are important are between obviously Dansgaard, Smokey J's, Knighton and Chiapelli at the moment.
Yeah, so coming round
Bazza's
towards the end. Oh, Bazza is out, yeah. Oh, that's not what he wanted. He's trying to stay out long, waiting for the rain possibly in this race, and he doesn't quite be able to make it do. Meanwhile, Smokey J's has actually got back to the rear end of Dansgaard once again, so maybe these tyres are coming back to him in this race for Smokey J's.
But potentially, yeah. I think in this last sector though, Dansgaard is a lot quicker than Smokey J's. Same with Knighton as well. They are both quicker in these final sectors, and that's obviously where it matters with the main straight DRS and then the following DRS straight as well. But it looks like he's a lot closer this time to keep in that range.
Yeah, definitely trying to keep in that range. You've got Smokey J's with the DRS. This is the battle for the lead of the race on lap number 11 here at Singapore. In the daylight, Dansgaard's clipped the wall. Oh! That was very hairy. Dansgaard's definitely lost a bit of his front wing there. And Smokey J's is going to be all over him like a rash. And surely it's a matter of time before Smokey J's dives up the inside, possibly into turn 7. He's going to look to the inside now at turn 7. Heading towards turn 7 now. Get the move done most likely. And he's got the move done. And that was just a mistake from Dansgaard under a bit of pressure, Softy.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do on this circuit. You know, you get up close to the wall, it's dusty, and you lose all rear grip. And to be honest with these sort of cars, and he hits the barrier again there, it's all too easy to do, sadly.
Yeah, all too easy to do. The gap between Chiapelli and Knighton's grown a little bit. It's sticking around about a second and a half now in this race, but that's the main plot twist in this race is Dansgaard, who was just overtaken Smokey J's a couple of laps ago, made a mistake, clipped the inside wall. Smokey J's was lucky not to go into the side of him there and collect him, and that was that. I think Dansgaard is going to try and hold on for a podium now. He's got a second gap back to Knighton in third, and he's got Chiapelli, so it's going to be a tough job for him to hold on this podium now, Softy.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's got a bit of a gap. Will he do it? It's difficult to say. I mean, this circuit, there's not a huge amount of fast corners where it's a real big issue. However, to be honest with yourself, if he pits, he's going to lose time. If he stays out, he's going to lose time. He may as well at this stage just stay out and just hope for the best, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that might be his strategy now. He's definitely starting to lose time tonight and he's got to try and hold on. He's got 4 laps to hold on, so he can't lose about more than 2 seconds a lap to this battle that is brewing between, well, we say brewing, it's been pretty much ongoing since the stops and it hasn't really progressed anywhere. Chiapelli is slowly edging closer to Knighton, but hasn't really been close enough to actually go for a move yet, Softy, has he?
No, he's not. And again, it's all that final sector. I think Knighton gets enough of a gap and has enough straight line speed clearly that Chiapelli can't get close enough. And that's the issue with this circuit is it's a high downforce circuit for the most part. And then when you get to a straight, you can't do anything with it because you get close in every other corner, just not where it matters.
Yeah, that is very true. As we watch Chiapelli now, he's still very close to the back of Knighton, but just following it in his wheel tracks, not really able to do anything, just can't seem to get his car close enough in the right areas to go and make a move on him. Chiapelli's the sort of guy who's known to maybe give it a lunge up the inside on the last lap, so this could be potentially one to watch. Well, it's the only battle really on the circuit at the moment between Knighton and Chiapelli, the battle for the final podium spot, and Chiapelli just can't seem to get close to him in the right areas, but he's getting a lot closer towards the end of the lap. All over Knighton. This is actually the closest we've seen him so far in this race to Knighton, but it's been difficult for Chiapelli this race.
It has. However, one thing I've noticed though, it all comes down to the ERS deployment. Knighton, not that much ERS, whereas Chiapelli, it's just over half. So maybe Chiapelli's just biding his time. He knows that he can keep pace with him, and he's going to, have a bit of a lunge on the last 2 laps, perhaps. Yeah,
without a doubt, he is going to be very close to the back of Knighton, and they're closing in on Dansgaard. The gap's now dropped to 5.8 seconds. It's going to be very tight for Dansgaard to hold on to this podium at the end of this race. Smokey J should have the win in the bag, barring any mistakes in this race. Senna's could probably be 5th, and everyone else is very spread out down the field. Looking at the gaps, it's like basically everyone's got a pit stop on each other further down the field, so it's really Chiapelli versus Knighton, the only battle brewing on the circuit, and maybe Dansgaard could be coming towards this battle with his front wing damage, Softy.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, again, you know, at this point, there's no point pitting. I think, will Dansgaard do it? It depends if he can avoid getting penalties for corner cuts and keep it out of the barrier. But obviously, going back to what you just said there, you know, everyone's spread out. I think from P5 down, everyone's had wing damage and, as you know, potentially
Knighton's made a mistake. Sorry to interrupt you, Softy. Yeah, Knighton's made a mistake, lost a bit of his front wing, and Chiapelli's just gone, thank you very much. I'll dove up the inside at the corner after the Anderson Bridge, and Chiapelli's on the podium, and Knighton's down to P4, and Knighton with wing damage has blown his chance of a podium there, because Dansgaard had wing damage further up the field, and they were closing him down at a rate of knots.
No, without a doubt. And again, you know, it comes to this circuit again. You can't really take any risks. You have to be focused, or you know, things like this happen. And he's just lost another half of his wing. So, you know, Knighton is in serious trouble. This last lap, I'd say, really then, or the last 2 laps. But going back to the pit stops, only 3 people have made double stops. That's Marco, Dom, and Angel V Def. So, you know, there's a few different strategies going on there. But the big winners: Speed Senna up 12 positions, and Elite Shots up 10. So, you know, good races from them all round.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a look at Angel versus Def versus Dom Smith. This is a battle brewing for 9th position in this race. As gap's gone down to about 7 tenths, it's been slowly closing over the course of this race. Dom is on the soft tyres, and Angel versus Def is on the ultra soft tyres, so he's going to have the grip advantage, and Dom Smith is starting to defend from Angel versus Def, Softy.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, looking on the statistics, Dom has been on those tyres for 10 laps, whereas Angel v Def has only been on the ultras for 5. So realistically, you'd expect, you know,
okay,
silly move.
Yeah, well, I think he just completely ruined his braking there. There was a battle brewing. There was a little bit of pressure from behind from the Renault that was coming up to lap him of Smoky J's, and yeah, Angel versus Def just got the braking completely wrong. I think he got a bit spooked with the Renault in the background and just went straight into the side of Dom Smith there. Marco has set the fastest lap of the race, and now I think that battle pretty much over and done with. So, but Chiapelli is now less than a second behind Dansgaard with a lap to go.
To be honest, I think he might. If not, if he does that, and now he's got damaged wing. Mr. Chiapelli has on his right side. Very easy mistake to make.
Yeah, very easy mistake to make. Not as severe. Don't look as severe as Dansgaard's, but he's still clawed into the back of Dansgaard, and he's been smelling blood for P2, and he just got maybe a little bit of dirty air, Softy, caused a little bit of problems. Should really be used to it. He's been following dirty air the whole race. But
without a doubt, again, it is easy to do, and especially at that corner, you know, it's very easy just to lock your brakes, which I think he did. Ran wide, you know, a slight tap on that wall, and he must have him here. Dansgaard's ran wide with that lack of downforce.
Yeah, DRS open on Chiapelli's car. He's going to try and defend to the inside. Chiapelli giving him a push down the straight. He's going to try and go around the outside at turn 7. Dansgaard gives him a bit of a hip and shoulder on the exit. Nothing too dangerous there. Chiapelli muscles his way past and is up into P2 in this race, and that will probably be that, and Chiapelli will come home most likely in P2, Dansgaard in P3. But now let's talk about the man who's been the class of field in qualifying, who's coming into the final sector now, and that is Smoky J's. What a performance from him, Softy.
Without a doubt. Again, you know, he may have had a few little hiccups during the race, and obviously Dansgaard coming back at him. However, again, the important thing is he didn't make any mistakes. He kept his cool, and it's rewarded him with a win as Red Bull Kim gets disqualified.
Yeah, Red Bull Kim, I've seen it pop up at the bottom of the screen there. Red Bull Kim got disqualified for failing to use both compounds of tyres, which is a bit of a done goof on Haas's part as they come round the final chicane. Smoky J's with an 11-second lead, just got a couple of corners to go here at Singapore. Randy comes, first victory of the season, and it's our 4th different winner of the season. Smoky J's wins the race. Mr. Chiapelli and his Mercedes, the reigning champion, is going to come home in P2 in the Mercedes. Coming across the line now, P2 for Mercedes. Dansgaard is going to come home in 3rd. Then we have Knighton going to come home in 4th. He'll be regretting that mistake he made. He could have potentially had definitely had a podium, even with Chiapelli overtaking him. He still could have got a podium without that mistake. Now we have to wait a bit. Senna comes home in 5th. Then we have Elite Shots just coming through the final sector now in his Williams. He's going to come home 6th. Marco's going to come home 7th. And then Dom Smith and Angel versus Death have already been lapped, and Marco will be the last car across the line. But quite an interesting race for you, Softy, weren't it, in the end?
Definitely. Again, as I said, the mid part of the race was quite dull, as it were. Not many overtakes, but that was down to the fact that there were so many different strategies with different, people damaging the wing. But then, it came to a head at the end. 2 different battles, 4 different drivers. It's to be expected at Singapore with that. And I must point out one stat I have actually just noticed. Smokey J's won this race, I'd say, quite convincingly in terms of pace, with obviously everyone else's mistakes. However, before today and before Singapore, he only had 6 points on the board.
Oh, so that was a big win for Smokey J's to kickstart his season, potentially going into, we're nearly in the second half of the season after tonight, and he's trying to kickstart his season. As we come ready to go with the celebrations on the podium, Renault on the podium celebrating their victory today in Singapore, 4th different winner of the season, as Dansgaard, Knighton and Senna were the previous winners before tonight. Haas, bit of a dumb goof there from the Haas guys, failing to use both compounds in this race, as we see the guys celebrate on the podium, Softy.
Definitely, again, I think the top 3, well deserved. Smokey J's, again, brilliant, qualifying. Obviously had the pace throughout and consistency. Chiapelli started 6th, quite good for him as well. He moved up the field. P2, could he have done better? I think he'll decide whether he could have or not. But I'd say, from at least the previous races, an absolute solid drive. Dansgaard, comes back, I think, after a week off. P3 could have potentially have been P2. Again, absolute brilliant driving from the field today.
Right, so here we are for the results here in Singapore. Smokey J's wins the race from Mr. Chiapelli. Then we have Dansgaard in 3rd, Knighton in 4th, Senna in 5th. Then we have Elite Shots in 6th, Marco in 7th, Dom Smith in 8th, Angel versus Death in 9th, James Botham, the last of the finishers, in 10th. And then we have the non-finishers of Baza, Saya Sports. There's a few guys that are just not in this race today. And we move on to Australia now, Softy.
Definitely. I think Australia, a very different circuit. It's definitely more high speed. There is more room for errors, of course. However, not a huge amount. For example, I think a few danger points of Australia. Turn 1, clip the curb too dangerously, either run wide, lose time, potentially get a bit of a tank slapper on, end up in the wall. And I think the big one is the fast chicane. Very difficult and very easy on the exit to either clunk those curbs again, like turn 1, run wide, and at that point I think it's such a high speed crash, you're never going to be able to save that.
No, definitely not. As we head into the second race of the night, Australia, we're going to have a quick look at the comment section while we're waiting, just to keep it entertaining and see what you have been saying, the viewers, while the races have been happening. Okay, yeah, nothing major there actually, looking at the comments. So we move on to Australia now. I'm trying to think, where is it? The 3.2 mile circuit, there we go, I found it. The 3.2 mile circuit, 16 turns, current lap record in real life is held by Michael Schumacher with 1:24.1. And we're getting ready to go. Normally the season opener in racing at the F1 real life, but we're here for round 11 here in Australia, aren't we, Softy? And what are your thoughts heading into qualifying? Do you think Smokey J's is going to maintain his pace?
Well, I mean, I think from at least experience of, I believe when he raced in TGP1, obviously previously, and then TGP2 this season. Again, I'm not too sure if he's raced every race, I don't think he has. However, he's got pace at certain circuits without a doubt. Whether he's got the consistency at all circuits is another matter. But, Singapore and this circuit are two very different circuits. I think the fast cars are always going to be quick. I think, it entirely depends on the weather conditions, I'd say, especially in Australia.
Fair enough. So getting ready to go here in Australia for the Australian Grand Prix, round number 11 of TGP2 season 22. It'd be interesting to see what the weather throws up. Different positioning on the calendar, and that could throw up a surprise in the weather. There was due to be rain at the end of Singapore, It was due to be rain at the end of Singapore there, and it just didn't come for the drivers in the end. I think that's what the Haas guys were waiting for. But if you see it not even raining within the final lap, then surely you come in and make your stop.
No, definitely. I think I'm not too sure what Haas was doing there with. I think it was Red Bull Kim. It's a very rookie mistake, I'd say. With that, I think even with, as you said, rain not coming on the last lap, you'd pit just to be on the safe side. But it is what it is. I think they're going to have to live with the mistake that they made and sort of focus 100% on Australia.
Yeah, try and rebuild themselves in Australia. Not really a circuit that they're known for. Well, the last 2 years in real life, they've had problems with, what's the one? Pit stops in Australia. There we go, I've just remembered what it is. They've had pit stops in real life in Australia as we get ready to go here for the race. But yeah, Haas, not the best pit stops in the world here. Be interested to see what the weather throws up for the race. But yeah, just enlighten us about Australia, Softy, and also, who do you think are going to be the main shakers and movers come towards the second half of the season that we're heading into now?
Well, I mean, firstly, Australia. I think it's a good circuit, as obviously James Botham obviously retires there. But I think it's a good circuit. There's not a huge amount of overtaking opportunities other than turn one. And I think going into the little wedge chicane before the fast chicane, but there is room for overtaking. I think cars will be able to follow quite closely, and I think the big movers, at least the second half of the season, I think if Smokey J's can race for the entire season, I think he'll be up there again. Consistency, one thing. Overall pace is a completely different thing. I think again it is going to be the usual suspects. Speed, Knighton, Senna, maybe even Goings. I think this or the next week is potentially his last week in TGP2, as far as I'm aware. Danscar, always up there when he races, but I definitely think it's going to be the usual suspects.
Yeah, definitely could be the usual suspects indeed. All the drivers just coming out on their outlaps now for their first runs in this 18-minute session here in Australia. I've just heard from a different source actually, not from the Red Bull Weather Centre in Milton Keynes, it's actually from the Silverstone Weather Centre by Racing Point, and they've told us it's going to be a dry race, nice and sunny for the race. So no throw up in the weather conditions here for the Australian Grand Prix as we get ready to... Well, why don't you take us on a lap on board with Goings in this qualifying session? He's just building up now for it.
Of course. Obviously, right here, he's probably getting all of his settings correct. His ERS, obviously, he's in overtake at the moment, actually, as he runs slightly wide there. You want to get a nice, clean exit out of this corner. Forget about everything else. Get that DRS open as soon as possible. He's clearly in overtake, ERS mode at the moment, all the way down to it, just to get that little extra speed into turn one. 100-metre board, nicely hit the curbs there. Take enough speed. Don't try and take too much curb on the exit, just so because it will score speed. Again, I believe it's the 100-metre board or 50-metre board there. Nice and hard. Takes a lot of curb. I think this next corner is left-hand on. You need to take a lot of curb to take that speed, and now it's pretty much just a straight, 100% throttle until this next one. This one, very difficult. It's very quick, obviously, but clearly he managed it perfectly fine. Run on that curb as much as you need to. Again, now there's a long right-hander. Don't scroll off too much. Braking point as the left-hand wall ends, and obviously goes back, but he handles that perfectly fine. 60% of his ERS. Again, he's still in overtake at the moment, so he's going for a different strategy. Here's the important one. Hit that curb perfect. Watch this inside curb. Again, doesn't take anywhere near, obviously, too much curb on the exit. Maybe it lost him a bit of time. He was very cautious through there, but then this right-hander, very simple, 90-degree right. Potentially hit fourth. He stays in fifth for this one. He looks like he's very calm. I think he's maybe not using as much road as needed, but these last few corners, there's Chiapelli the tyres, but around the last corner, and it's been a very scruffy, I'd say, final few corners.
Well, he ran out of ERS deployment for the lap about halfway through it, so that didn't help Goings' situation either, but he does a 21.5 and goes quickest so far in this session, as drivers now are starting to complete their first runs in this session. Go see what Marco's doing. Marco just going through the fast left-right chicane. He's in the gravel and he's just about avoided the wall there. Bossman Sean, where is he? He's
He's
coasting
lost
back
one off
into
his
the
wing.
pit. Oh yeah, he's coasting back into the pit lane there. I think I did see a bit of debris when I was looking on board with Marco, and that's what caused it. Knighton's still in the pits. Speed Senna, he's on a lap at the moment in his Force India, so let's see how he does. Heading towards turn 13 now. Into turn 13 he goes. Round 13 he's got 14, 15 and 16 left. So round 14 down into this tight corner that is 15. Down to about third gear, second gear, depending on the gearing of the car. And now you're going to be carefully feathering the throttle round turn 16 onto the main straight. Very important run out that corner. Let's see what he does. Opening lap of the session, and he pops himself into P2 with a 22.1. Ooh, I was about to say no one's got close to Goings, and then Danskar pops up and goes literally within about a hundredth of a second of him, if that.
Definitely very close. And the interesting thing though at the moment is Goings and Danskar both on the super softs, not on the ultras. So I would say always a Speed Senna there gives it Danskar a bit of a push, as it were. But yeah, both the top two at the moment on the supers, and Senna in third on the ultras.
Yeah, third on the ultras. Let's just have a quick look at see what everyone's got fitted at the moment. Lee Scholz did his time on the softs apparently. So he's definitely got a bunch of pace to find. He could be a contender for pole in this, looking at what everyone's done their first runs on. Angel versus Death on the ultras. Most guys have done their first runs on the super soft tyres, looking at this softie.
Definitely, I think that's a tactic that I think that people use a lot in TGP1. I think I tend to do it quite a lot, but yeah, I think it's just to build up the lap, get the groove, see how the car reacts, and then obviously once you know exactly how it is, put the fastest tyre on and absolutely gun it and push it to the limit.
Yeah, Marco's just set a lap time. He's popped himself into third place, just going ahead of Senna with a 1:22.1. And is he going for another lap? I highly doubt it. I don't think he'll have the
urge to do it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I didn't think he would have the urge to do it, so I highly doubt he's going for another run. But he's a 10th up actually on this lap, so interesting tactic from Marco. If he's doing 2 laps on the bounce, maybe used a bit less urge on that first lap to give himself more urge for the second one, and maybe the tyres are a bit better worked into him, so it might help him out. We'll see what his sector 2 time is coming up now. Round he goes, and he's a 10th down.
Only a 10th.
Only a 10th though. He's not losing heaps of time, which is a bit surprising. Have a quick look at his urge. He's out of urge. He's out of urge.
That's what I mean. He's out of urge, but I mean he's been pretty much like that for the entire lap so far. Either that, or it shows that maybe his first lap wasn't that good, at all. Maybe he made a few mistakes in there, and maybe this is just showing what he can do. But yeah,
well, he's peeled into the pit lane. Everyone else is. We've got a bit of a lull in the session at the moment, Softy, as everyone's just finishing up their first runs, changing tyres onto their second runs, I believe. Knighton is he on a lap or on an out lap? I think he is on a lap, Knighton, actually.
He's on a lap.
Bossman Sean's just starting up a lap, I see as well. So we've got a couple of cars out on the circuit. Dom Smith's also out as well. But we're interested to see what Knighton does. Heading towards turn 13 with the DRS wide open on his Sauber. Nicely through 13. A little bit of grass on the inside, but nothing to worry about too much for the Sauber driver. In towards turn 15 now, down to about second, third gear. And now he's got to feather his throttle, be very gentle with the throttle. Got to get the application perfect because it's the longest straight on the circuit. Down towards the start-finish line now. And what sort of lap do we get from Knighton? He goes pole with a 21.3 Softy.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a good lap, but, to be honest with yourself, again, Goings only just under 2 temps, but it was on the super soft. And to be honest with yourself, looking at Goings' final sector, I'd say there's much more to come from Goings, and potentially, Dan's car as well.
Yeah. So we have Bossman Sean going through the very fast chicane now. He's on a lap. We've got Dom Smith on a lap, and Bossman Sean's lost it on the exit actually. Not quite doing a full Timo Glock, or who's the other driver that spun there before? I can't think who the other one was. It might have been Vettel.
The big one.
Yeah, but either way,
I know Massa did it a few years ago.
Yeah, it might have been Massa. Yeah, but either way, Bossman Sean, that ruins his second run. He ruined his first run by making a similar sort of mistake and ripping half the front wing off. No damage this time round, but that's his lap over with. And that is basically it. We've got Danskar on an out lap, but no one really flying around at the moment.
Elite Shot's just about to start his lap, I believe.
Yeah, we've got Elite Shots starting a lap. We've got Dansgaard just starting up a lap as well. If Elite Shots is on a flyer, he needs to keep out the way.
Well.
Oh, well, what's going on here between?
He went straight across turn 1. I don't think
well, I was looking at Dansgaard and Knighton. I think they got confused with each other because Dansgaard pulled out the way to let Knighton through, but didn't realise Knighton was on an in lap. So very complicated between the two, the Sauber and the Ferrari driver there. We've got a few cars peeling out the pit lane now. On board with Dansgaard as he goes round turns 1 and 2. DRS wide open, heading towards turn 3 now, Softy.
Definitely. Obviously, a few of these corners very difficult to get right. You think you can brake a lot later, and it punches you in the face. Obviously, is the best way I can really describe it. But yeah, I mean, he's only 2 tenths off pole. He's now on the ultras compared to the supers, so he's half a second up in the first sector. So again, he's now showing his pace. Again, got that bankering on the super softs, and now he's again pushing it to the limit.
Yeah, definitely pushing it to the limit. Coming towards the end of sector 2 now. It'll be interesting to see what his split time is now. Coming towards the end of the sector 2. Is he up? He's 7 tenths up. He's on the grippier tyre compared to his first one, because I believe he did his first one on the ultra soft side, didn't he?
The supers it was, but
supers,
yeah, he's now on the ultras.
Yeah, anyway, coming towards turn 13 now. Towards the end of the lap he comes. Just a couple of corners to go round. Very well. Do you brake or do you lift, or do you just do neither?
You
do.
There? You do a very tad brake, and usually I downshift to 4th, but I think there are a few different ways you can do that. Stay in 5th and just lift off, but I do like to tap the brake.
And that is a decent time from Dansgaard, a 1 minute 20.2 on the ultras off tyre, over a second clear of Knighton, who's done his lap on ultras. Be interested to see what Goings does on his. Trying to think his ultra soft run. Got to see who else. Marco can go quicker because he did his best lap on the supers. Elite Shots could definitely go quicker. He did his best lap on softs, so he's definitely got a hunk of time to find anti-softy.
Definitely. I think a few of these guys that was on the supers can definitely find. Obviously, Elite Shots somehow and some reason he's gone from the softs now to the super soft, so maybe he's taking longer to build up for his lap. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Elite Shots decides to qualify in the supers or goes for the ultras like everybody else.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting call indeed. He's comfortably in the top 10 at the moment. Remember, top 10 have to start on the tyres they qualified on. Anyone below that can start on other tyres. They have a free choice lower down the field. That's kind of...
And Elite Shots goes second.
There you go, Elite Shots. Only just pips.
As Rebel spins.
Dansgaard for... only just pips Knighton even for second place, but he's on his super soft and Knighton is on the ultra softs, as we see Senna peeling into the pit lane. We've got Knighton, he's out on the ultras currently. I think he's on a flyer possibly, or coming towards the start of a flyer.
Starting his lap, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting his run, Knighton. So anyone else out on the circuit who could make a potential run for pole. Marco has improved as well while we're talking there, as he's gone to a 21.9 on his ultra soft run. That's not a huge margin considering he's changed from a slower tyre to a faster tyre, and he's only gained about 2 tenths, Softy.
It's not, no. Again, I think at the moment, at least for Marco, the laps he's done are quite scruffy. I think, obviously, I don't think he's managing his ERS hugely well. I think he's trying to go for second laps, and it's not quite working with that lack of ERS. But I think maybe he needs to go into the pits, spend a minute or so in there, think about what he's doing, and come back out and try and get that lap in there. But yeah, and just a quick one with regards to the field at the moment is Angel v Death at the moment. I believe going through sector 1 it was only 2 tenths off. However, I think at the moment going through these last few corners it has been a bit scruffy, so he might have actually
well keep an eye on him now. He's coming into turn number 15 and 16. Got to be careful on the throttle. I think he's the only car really out on a flying lap at the moment, as well as Knighton backed off of his lap, and he pops himself into P8 there. Where was he before?
He does improve.
Yeah, he definitely...
It was P8. He improved, but it didn't make a difference.
Okay, improvement but no position change. Smokey J's, the race winner from last time, is already out of this session with a 22.1. So he's going to qualify no higher than 7th and could potentially drop further down the field if there's some guys behind that improve. Looking at who's there though, I don't really see any of those guys improving.
No, I mean, to be honest with yourself, I think at least Danscar, maybe he's reached the limit of what he can do. I think the others, Elite Shots, definitely can improve, to be honest with yourself. I mean, he's 1.1 off, however, his lap still was on the Supers. He's now fitted the Ultras, but he's sitting in the pits, I would assume, for the last minute to be able to get out. I think Goings, I would say he definitely can improve again. He did his lap on the Supers. Speed Senna just came out of the pits again. His time was on the Ultras, same with Marco. So I think the second to fifth, I'd say potentially can improve their times.
Right, so we have just over 3 minutes to go in this session. We've got Goings out on and out. Everyone's just coming out for their final runs now. We've got Goings, I think, will be the first one to cross the line and start a flying lap. Then Senna, as we see Red Bull Kim actually spin right in front of Goings there, giving him a little bit of a scare as he heads towards starting a lap here, Goings. We've got Knighton, I think he's on an in-lap. Speed Senna. Elite Shots, has he finally switched himself onto the ultra soft tyres? Yes, he has. And he's currently sitting P2 on a super soft run. He's about a second off Danscar. So I don't think he'll beat Danscar's time, looking at the way the time's progressed for him so far. But I do think if he gets a decent lap in, he should safely see himself P2, I reckon. As we see Goings just starting to fly it lap now, Softy.
Yeah, I think obviously the gap between the tyres, I think between the Ultras and the Supers is around 7/10. So, and actually Speed Knighton goes 7/10 off, obviously at the moment of Danscar. So, but it is around a 7/10 gap, I believe, between the two tyre compounds.
Well, Elite Shots, Knighton's popped himself into second place with a 20.9, so he's improved. He backed off on that lap and stayed out and went again. So he's probably done for the session. Elite Shots has peeled into the pit lane, so maybe he's just decided, you know what, I'm happy starting on the super softs. I don't mind dropping a couple of places and starting on these super soft tyres.
Goings at the moment is a 10.5 up going through the fast chicane, so Goings on his super soft lap was quite cautious going into this final sector. So maybe, if Goings gets a bit more aggressive in this final sector, he might actually be able to pick Danscar for pole position.
Yep, so coming round turns 14, 15 and 16. Into 15 he goes now. Got to ride on board with him. And we have a bit of a laggy on board there, so we're going to have to switch off it as he comes down the main straight. Up the gears he goes. He's out of hers once again. Does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes to a 20.7 and he jumps Knighton and he's up into second place, and that's him done for the session. Speed Senna also out on a lap. He's just got a couple of corners to go in his Force India. He goes in the pink car, feathering the throttle, being so gentle, want to get a good run out of there, heading across the start finish line any second now. Is he going to improve? He has, but only slightly. He's improved by 15 thousandths, and he stacked it in the wall to end his session. Angel versus Death. Well, this has been quite a anticlimactic end to the session, Softy, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. I mean, I think everyone got a lot of their laps in sort of mid-session and sort of towards the start, but you can't always have a perfect qualifying session that everyone's out at the end. I mean, look at Real F1 for example, but I mean, look, Angel v Death was on lap. He's decided to call that quits. Marco's the only one that's about to start a lap.
Yeah, Marco has got a whole
17th.
Marco and Seiya Sports have got the tracks to themselves. Seiya Sports is on an out lap. I don't think he's going to actually get a lap in because he's only just left the pit lane.
No.
Red Bull Kim is...
He should start ahead of everyone in front of him who hasn't set a lap time.
Yeah, well, there you go. Red Bull Kim, he's on an out lap himself. Well, he's finished apparently. So I'm guessing
time's run out.
Time's run out for Red Bull Kim on his out lap. So that's him done. Marco, interesting line through that corner there from Marco coming round turn 6. Heading towards the end of Sector 2 now. He's just got this chicane and then the fast chicane. And he's at the end of Sector 2. He's got the track hold to himself, so he's got all the attention, Marco, that he probably wants, to be honest, in his Toro Rosso. Good for the advertising sponsorship. Red Bull will be very pleased with him. Decent middle sector there by the looks of it, but only got a few corners left to go, Softy.
Yeah, and again, I think this final sector is probably one of the most important. Obviously, a lot of lines you can take in there. Certain lines are better, of course. But obviously, and he slightly touches the gravel there on my screen, but it won't cost him a huge amount. And this final second to last corner, very difficult. It comes up. You think you can brake later and you just lock up, but now it's all done. You can only just go to the line and see what he does.
Fair
And he
enough.
improves, I think, to P5.
Marco progresses, goes up into P4 actually, Softy. P4 is where he's qualified in this session. So here we are, we're going to have the full rundown of the qualifiers here in Melbourne for round 11 of the TGB2 season 22 season. So, Speed Danskar on pole by nearly 6/10 over Going. Another dominant pole position performance from Danskar. Then we have Goins in second, Knighton in third, Marco in fourth. Elite Shots will be starting fifth, but crucially on the super soft tyres. Then we have Senna in sixth, Smokey J's in seventh, Angel versus Death in eighth, Bazza in ninth. Then we have Dizek 10th, Red Bull Kim, the last of the guys who actually set a lap in this qualifying session, in 11th. Then we've got Sean, James Boffin, Dom Smith, Reader, Chiapelli and Saya Sports all starting at the back of the field, Softy.
Yeah, I think the big surprise for me is Chiapelli not actually setting a lap time, to be honest. I think Australia, it's not hugely good at overtaking. However, again, you still rather start somewhere near the front if you're able to. Or maybe you're going to try the opposite strategy and see where that goes. Yeah,
it'd be very interesting indeed. They're just hydrating themselves now, ready for another hot day here in Melbourne. Round 11 of the season. Let's see how we get on. Final preparations, final little tweaks from the drivers, just getting their race strategies sorted here for a 15 laps again, Softy, around here.
I believe it actually is, yes. I think both races are 15 laps.
Okay, it's going to go by a little bit quicker than Singapore because it's not as long of a circuit. It is 15 laps, so we're spot on with that one. 5 lights are on and we are away here in Melbourne. Looks like a decent start from the front row. Not too many issues for those guys as they head into turn 1. Goings maybe having a look up the inside of Danskar. Doesn't quite get the move done. There's a little bit of lag there, but Goings all over the back of Danskar. Is he going to try and make a move in towards turn 3? He has a sniff. We got a Toro Rosso having a sniff at the Sauber, doesn't quite make it stick. There's something happening in the background, Softy, as Danskar and Goings are going to go side by side round turn number 5. That's never going to end well. And Goings is had to back off and lost a heap of time as he gets very tasty in the background. And Marco is round. And Marco's dropping down the field like a stone. But Danskar leads after the first couple of corners. We've got Smokey J's and Speed Senna, I believe that was, battling side by side. Smokey J's a little bit of a half spin, loses a couple of positions. Bossman Sean, I think, just clattered into the side of him. Yes, he did, and now he's dropping down the field. But yeah, after the first couple of first half of the lap, we have Danskar leading, Goins in second, Knighton in third, Senna fourth, and Smokey J's rounding out the top 5, Softy.
Yeah, obviously a hectic first lap, as it were. I can see as well at the moment that Michael Kenny, or Angel v Death, has lost half his wing, and so is Saya Sports, and Marco's out, it seems. He's called it quits, clearly, with that. And one thing that I don't think none of us picked up during quali was Elite Shots. I think actually disconnected during quali. I don't think he's made it in for the race, even though his AI car is driving around.
Okay, that's kind of interesting. That's a shame for Elite Shots, actually, because he had a very strong performance in qualifying. He had the alternate strategy, so could have done something in this Australian Grand Prix, but he hasn't had the chance to do so, unfortunately, because his connection has let him down in the end. There's a battle brewing behind between Senna and Smokey J's. That's the battle for P4 and P5, Softy.
Yeah, obviously, again, same sort of people, obviously fighting for the lead. I think Goings this time only 1.1 behind Danskar. It's harder to crash at this circuit. I think last race everyone was crashing at the same corner, but I think Goings could actually do something and potentially get a podium. I think at the moment the top 3 are over 3 seconds clear of Speed Senna in 4th.
Yeah. Got a decent gap to Speed Senna, 3.5 seconds. We've got Smokey J's all over the back of Speed Senna. Started down in about P8, I believe, in the end, after only setting 1 run in the qualifying session. Started down in about P8 and he's battled his way up to P5 and maybe looking at P4 as he heads onto the main straight. We've got Danskar leading by
actually a big battle for 9th as well. There's a whole gaggle of cars there.
Okay, we're going to follow this battle for P4 though. It's higher up the grid, more points at stake, so it's more worthwhile following as we see Smokey J's dive up the inside in towards turn 1. Is he going to get the move done? Well, that was interesting, shall we say.
That was very interesting.
That was very interesting. Senna maintains the position through shenanigans is the best way of describing that, Softy.
Definitely, I think you know, a bit of lag at the perfect time for him to keep that position, I'd say.
Yeah. Bit of fortunate lag for him. As we see Chiapelli, who started at the back of the grid, is now joining the back of this battle, Softy.
Yeah, definitely. I think again it should be interesting. He's made good positions. I mean, he's starting on absolute fresh tyres compared to the people around him. Tyre wear, it's not a huge problem around here at all compared to some of the circuits we go. So, you know, but however, a fresh pair of tyres, I think that's or should I say set rather than pair. I think, you know, either way, it's always a positive to have completely 100% fresh tyres.
Yeah, definitely 100. Good positives to have. Got Chiapelli just lurking in the background of this battle between Senna and Smokey J's. It's quite a lot of I don't know if you're seeing this as well.
Bossman Sean spun. Bossman Sean has spun on the exit of the fast chicane.
Okay, fair enough. I was just going to ask, are you seeing this as much lag as I am, Softy?
I am, yes. It's quite odd because it was definitely not as laggy as this in Singapore.
No, definitely not indeed, as DRS is open on the back of the Mercedes driver. We've got Smokey J's all over the back of Senna. I'm going to sit on board with Chiapelli now because he's got a great view of the cars in front, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And, well, Baz has nearly spun it on the exit of the chicane there as well, as I'm sort of swinging down the field there. Dom in P8, half of his wing still missing, so he's not doing too bad. But, yeah, the battle is definitely for P4
hello.
at the moment. There's a bit more lag.
Yeah, definitely a bit more lag there as Chiapelli went to the outside of Smokey J's there. It's not great from commentating point of view, but it must be awful from a driver's point of view, this much lag, isn't it, Softy?
Definitely, and I mean, it might be us, it might be happening to them as well now. Some instances as well. Oh, and Goings has spun it on, and he's lost his wheel. Goings is out.
Oh dear, Goings is out from P2 in this race. That moves Knighton up to P2, and this battle now suddenly becomes for the podium between the Force India, the Mercedes, and the Renault. Smokey J's looks up the inside. Bit of a late defence there from Senna. Smokey J's sticks it up the inside, pushes him out wide, and now Chiapelli's going for a move up the inside. Chiapelli gets past in turn 14, and Senna has lost 2 places in, well, 2 corners, but he's dived straight back at Chiapelli and got himself back up into P9. 4 in this race as Smokey J has pitted, and so's Knighton's, and now this is a battle for P2. We've got Senna defending the inside. We've got Chiapelli trying to look around the outside. Senna defending beautifully there, and he stays in P2, but there's another DRS zone for Chiapelli to take advantage of. Is he going to make a move down the inside in towards turn 3? No, he's going to try and go around the outside. Senna leaves him just about a car's width, and this is great wheel-to-wheel racing between the Force India and the Mercedes, Softy.
Definitely, obviously, good, fair, clean race. And I think Senna, as Chiapelli nearly lose it on the curb there. But yeah, it's clear, clear, decisive, and fair racing, I'd say. But just going back to Goings, at the point of him crashing, he was actually closing up on Danscar. So potentially, I think he might be quite annoyed with himself that he made that silly mistake.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing what happened by the looks of it, where his car was parked, where he just ran wide coming out the fast chicane and lost it.
That's exactly it. Exactly what happened. And as I said, you get on that curb, it will spit you out.
Yeah, as Senna's now actually starting to pull away from Chiapelli now. I think not having Smokey J's all over the back of Senna means he's got a chance to let himself breathe and build himself up a little bit of time. Being hampered by battling with Smokey J's, weren't he?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, you lose so much time, even if you don't feel like you're losing a lot. Even the smallest little defensive move, you lose so much time. But, I think Chiapelli will be able to keep Senna honest, especially with the, the 3, I think it is, DRS zones. Well, yeah, there's 2 or 3, I think. But yeah, there's enough DRS zones and straight lines that...
Big battle brewing for P4 in this race. It's Bossman Sean versus Speed Knighton. Knighton's already made his stop. They've both got DRS coming down the main straight. There was, when we joined it, Dom Smith at the front of this queue, but he made a mess of turn 14. Knighton's just about got past. No, he hasn't. Bossman Sean has done the whippity-wop flippity-flop on him, and Bossman Sean maintains the position. He's defending so hard into turn number 3 now. We're on lap number 6 of this
goes around the outside.
Knighton's going to try and go round the outside of him, park it on the apex of turn 4, and that is the move done. Knighton up into P4 on his front rubber softy.
Yeah, and Chiapelli just spun it and lost half of his wing from second place.
Yeah, where was he? Oh, okay, that's... Was it... I'm guessing unforced error.
Yeah, definitely. He got on the entry curb, the inside curb, and it unsettled the car, and around he went.
Yeah, and now he's got Dansgaard all over the back of him. He's already made his stop in this race.
Dangerous place to catch him.
Yeah, and Dansgaard, I think Chiapelli sort of lifted off and let Dansgaard through there. He knows he's got half a front wing, and surely that means Chiapelli will dive into the pit lane this time round. Yeah,
he's definitely. I think, pit stops will be coming around about, in the next few laps anyway, so I don't think Chiapelli's going to lose as much as he fears, but obviously either way it's not good for him.
Yeah, Senna's peeled into the pit lane just on board with Dom Smith now, just been overtaken by Smokey J's going backwards as the guys start to peel into the pit lane, and we're already halfway through this race, Softy, and it's been more entertaining affair than it was in Singapore so far, hasn't it?
Definitely, and I think it's a type of track. Singapore, I think everyone's cautious. They don't really want to try anything silly because they know if they do and it doesn't work out, half the wing's going to be gone. But I think round here, a lot more straights, and as Marco leads, but yeah, a lot more straights to be able to attack. The slipstream keeps them in it as well. Again, the past few F1 games, it's been very strong. The DRS has.
Yeah, definitely been a strong effect here. We've got Senna closing up to the back of Dom Smith, having just peeled out the pit lane now. He's lost time. He's actually been jumped by Smokey J's. Smokey J's was ahead, but just ahead. He's lost time to Smokey J's by staying out a little bit longer, Senna, hasn't he?
He has, and now he's obviously trying to get past Dom, who I must point out again has half a wing still. So, and catching him in this fast left-right chicane, it could end badly, I'd say.
No, well, it could end badly, not because of his wing though, because of the amount of lag that we're seeing on our screen. Hopefully it's not as bad for the drivers out there as it is for us, so sorry about this, guys. We're having a few technical difficulties. It's been interesting the last couple of days. Of course, TGP1 didn't race at all yesterday because of the internet issues that was being caused down at Codemasters, and now today it don't look like it's got any better, Softy.
No, and obviously it was a shame. I think everyone was looking forward to TP1 as Dom Smith comes back at Senna with half a wing, but clearly as James retires there. So yeah, it's been quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely been quite interesting. Senna's got round the outside of Dom Smith there, and that's that move done. And it's all sort of quieting down in this race. Smokey J's pitting early has gained a bit of a gap on Senna now. There's no real battle for the lead. No real battles anywhere, to be honest, Softy.
No, yeah, I'll say Angel V Def there gets a 5-second stop go for speeding the pit lane, not what he wants, but he's in 11th anyway. There's only one car behind him, so he's not really going to lose any places, obviously for that. But yeah, obviously the race is quieting down. Again, pit stops have pated that again. A lot of people getting front wing damage, but again, I'm sure in the next few laps it might close up again. It may not close up as much as last race. Just because of the nature of the circuit. Yeah, so having a quick look at the rundown so far. Dom's the only guy not to have made his stop in this race, so we've got Dansgaard leading as he starts lap number 9 here in Australia. Then he's got about 7.3 second lead to Knighton in second place, who's gained a position from his starting position, gaining 4 on where he started. Smokey J is currently running in 3rd in the Renault. Speed Senna running 4, gained 2 possessions on when he started. We've got Dom Smith peeling into the pit lane. That means Reader is going to jump up into 5th place any second now, and that means he'd gain 10 positions on where he started. Chiapelli's going to jump up into 6th. That means he's also gained 10 positions on where he started in this Grand Prix. There'll be interesting to see where Dom comes out compared to Bossman Sean. Bossman Sean has jumped him actually, so Bossman Sean in P7. We've got Dom Smith. He's rejoining the race, coming out in P8, and yeah, I think Chiapelli starting to claw up on the back of Reader at the moment, Softy. Definitely, and again, he's got the tyre advantage. I mean, Reader's been on those softs for 7 laps now, so definitely a good while, and he's only been on the super softs for only 2 laps, so you'd expect it to be honest. And I think from what I've seen, at least today, Reader not really had, sadly, the greatest pace. Whether that's down to incidents he's been caught up in, but I think, to be honest, as soon as Chiapelli gets into that DRS zone, there's not really going to be much defensive to be able to do, really.
Yeah, it's not very good indeed. But yeah, Chiapelli less than a second behind Reader now. He's already a battle with one Sauber today in Senna, and now he's going to try and see how he fancies himself against the other Sauber of Reader. So, coming round turn number 14, coming towards the main straight. I think he's definitely going to be close enough with DRS this time round, Softy, isn't he?
Definitely. I mean, a bit wide at the last corner, a bit of oversteer there, but again, there's 2 DRS straights right next to each other. If he doesn't get them now, he will, without a doubt, try it after going into turn 3.
Yeah, so needs to get a good run through turn 1, and he has, and he's going to be very close and possibly ready to make a move coming towards turn 3. Reader's going to... Well, okay. That's interesting what happened on my screen there. Interesting from Reader's car. Reader's got magically transforming tyres for me.
Interesting. Well, typical.
Yeah, his tyres keep swapping from the soft compound to the super soft compound. Like literally every 100 metres they keep swapping between the 2 compounds. It's really quite a sight to behold. Don't know whether that's some sort of...
Smokey J's has spun at the exit of the fast.
So Speed Senna has jumped up into 3rd place. He's going to be comfortably ahead of this battle that is Chiapelli and Reader for 5th and 6th, I believe. Yes, he is. He's comfortably ahead of that. But yeah, I'm just making a point of it because Reader's tyres just keep changing corner on corner. They keep changing from super soft to soft tyres. I think they stopped now. So I think he's on the super softs. But
he's actually on the softs. I can confirm he is on the softs.
Okay, so on my screen it's saying he's on super softs. That's useful to know.
Definitely an interesting characteristic of this game.
Yeah, interesting characteristic. As Senna is Senna's up into 3rd. I'm not really sure what's going on anymore, to be honest.
Sean's retired.
Yeah, Bossman Sean's gone.
Turn 1, exit of turn 1, hit the curb, spun it.
Fair enough. All the action's been happening in the places where there isn't really any battles going on, Softy.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's more down to people spinning that is costing us the viewing experience this race, it seems.
Yeah. So we have Reader on. Wow, it's just Reader is on a tyre. We don't know what tyre it is, but he's on the tyre. We're following Smokey J's at the moment. He's trying to gain back his 3rd position that he lost to Senna a couple of laps ago, making that mistake coming out of the chicane, Softy.
Yeah, I think that, again, as I said in qualifying, these curbs on exits of corners, exit turn 1, exit the flash chicane, it is catching people out because, again, you get onto it in the wrong angle and round you go, and at those sort of speeds, your chances are you're not going to save it.
Yeah. Definitely not a good chance of saving it. Smokey J's is clawing up to the back of Senna, so that's a battle that is brewing in this race, but that's about it at the moment here in Australia. We're on lap number 12. Dansgaard's got about an 8.7 second lead, and he's about 14 Knighton in second is about 14 seconds up the road from Senna, so very spread out towards the top guys, but Dansgaard's put on a commanding performance like he has a few times this season so far, Softy.
Definitely, I think Dansgaard is definitely the guy to be. He's got the consistency and he has the pace. And from what I've seen throughout this season, he doesn't try any audacious moves. He just plays it safe, and that's paying him a lot of good luck, I'd say. Obviously, so far this season, and it is a shame that he's missed a few races, I believe, or he'll be right up there in the title fight. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Smokey J's is less than half a second behind Speed Senna now. This is the battle for the final podium spot between the Renault and the Force India driver. Coming towards the end of the lap, in towards 15 we go now, and Smokey J's wants to make up for that mistake he made earlier in this race. Speed Senna catches a little bit of the grass actually on the entry to this corner, and Smokey J's is going to have the DRS wide open Senna defends in towards turn 1. Is he going to try and snap it up the inside? No, he doesn't. He tries to go for the whippity-wop, flippity-flop. No, he doesn't. He gets a poor run, actually, Smokey J's. I don't think he's going to be close enough for a move into turn 3, Softy.
No, definitely not. I think he's too focused on Senna. Ran wide, and at that point, he lost every bit of momentum. As we see, he spun it.
You say spun, it looked like on my screen, Senna's car lagged back into him, and it's chucked him round.
That's exactly what it looked like on mine, but whether that was the case or not is, of course, a completely different story. But it does now mean Chiapelli is only a few seconds behind Smokey J's.
Yeah, Chiapelli's about 3 seconds behind. He's still not really close enough to be able to do anything towards the end of this race, so we're going to keep an eye on Dansgaard. He's only got a couple of laps to go here. He's got a commanding lead over Knighton in second, who is the championship leader. Knighton's had a good night so far though, P4, and he looks like he's set for P2, so he's going to maintain his championship lead, Softy, which is the main focus for him. He's got a massive lead, and all he's trying to do is just keep picking up points and just minimise damage.
Spun it again. Smokey J's has spun it at the fast chicane again, so he's now dropped behind Chiapelli.
Okay, so Chiapelli up into P4, Smokey J down at P5. But going back to my point that Knighton has had a good run tonight, actually. He's just been knocking away. He hasn't been beating his rivals, but he's just keeps chipping away. He's got a massive lead and just needs to keep picking up points for the rest of the season, Softy, and that's his main aim now.
Without a doubt, I think at this point it's the halfway season. He's got a decent lead in the championship compared to Dansgaard. So I think at this point, go for the championship. Don't just go for those race wins. I think me personally, in the titles that I've won, when it comes to the halfway point and I've got a lead, my then focus isn't on gaining a lead. It's just consistency. Don't get into any stupid incidents and bring the title home.
Yeah, so Reader is he's about 1.5 seconds behind Smokey J's. He's had an odd race, Smokey J's, actually. He's been round a couple of times so far in this Grand Prix, and he's cost himself a podium easily, and I think he was running P2 at one point, maybe, definitely P3.
Yeah. And again, it all comes down to that consistency. I mean, look, we saw, and he showed what he could do in Singapore. He was fighting there with Dansgaard and everyone else, and rightfully deserved win as he nearly spins it again. But I think, again, it's the issue that he has is consistency from race to race. It's a very different circuit. Maybe he didn't do as much practice. Maybe this sort of circuit is a circuit he doesn't like, and it doesn't suit it. But if he's ever going to potentially challenge for consistent race wins and even championships, he's going to need to sort this out at some point, sadly.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're watching Dansgaard now. He's coming round the middle sector for the final time in this race, and he's had a commanding performance today. 9.6 seconds clear now. Great day for Ferrari, making up for his lost win that he had in Singapore after making that mistake, losing a bit of his front wing and gifting Smokey J's the win and dropping down to third, I believe, in the end at Singapore. But he's coming around the final couple of corners now. Just got turns 14, 15 and 16 to go. Round 14, a little bit wide on the exit of 14 there, but it won't matter too much for him. Coming round the final corner for the final time here in his Ferrari, the Estonian Dansgaard is going to cross the line and win the Australian Grand Prix. 25 points on the board for Ferrari. Knighton, the championship leader, another good night for him, another decent race. He's going to come home in P2. Then we move it back to Senna in the Force India. He's come home in P3. It's a decent performance there for the Force India guy. Round the final corner he goes, coming across the line, about 17 seconds behind Knighton. That just shows how commanding the performance was from Dansgaard in the end. Chiapelli is going to come home in P4, about 12 seconds back off Senna after his front wing damage. So he's going to come home in P4, the reigning champion. P4 for Mercedes. Then we have Smokey J's, who'll be ruining the mistakes he made and possibly lag incidents as he comes home in P5. Then we have Reader coming home P6 just behind him. Dom Smith going to come home for some decent points for the Red Bull team in position number 7. So round the final corner, Dom Smith is going to come home P7 for Red Bull. Then we have Bazza, who's spun at the final corner. He still looks like he's going to comfortably come home in position 8 for Ferrari. And then Red Bull Kim is going to round out the field in the Haas. He's actually switched tyres this time, which is better than last race. No pits, not absolute mess-ups from Haas this time here in Australia, which they're prone to. And he comes across the line and comes home P9. Angel versus Death in P10. And I think Schatz' car is going to be classed as P11. But like you said, Softy, I don't think he was actually racing there.
He wasn't, no. He wasn't. Obviously, a bit of a shame for himself.
So just getting ready for the podium celebrations here in Melbourne. Great day for Ferrari. Sauber, decent day for them, come home P2. Knighton, I think he loses a little bit of his championship lead, but with the margin he had I don't think he'll be too annoyed about that. And Senna, for Force India, picks up another decent performance. Going into tonight, these were the 3 winners of races, and Smokey J's has kind of gone, you know what, I want a victory, and he picked one up in Singapore, making it 4 different winners. But these were the 3 winners, and these have been probably the class of the field so far this season, these 3 guys, as we head with the full results rundown. So Dan Scarr wins the race, 9.5 seconds ahead of Knighton. Then we have Senna in 3rd, Chiapelli in 4th, Smokey J's in 5th, then we have Reader 6th, Dom Smith in 7th, then we have Bazza in 8th, Red Bull Kim in 9th, Angel versus Death in 10th, Elite Shots in 11th, Bossman Sean out of the race in 12th, James Botham out of the race in 13th, Goins out of the race in 14th, Sayer Sports out of the race in 15th, Marco out of the race in 16th, and Dizek out of the race in 17th. So what are your thoughts on the 2 races tonight, and what can we look forward to for the rest of the season, Softy?
Well, I think both races were decent. Obviously, there was quite a lot of incidents, which was a bit of a shame. However, you know, there's always going to be some sort of chaos on lap 1, especially at these two style of circuits. But I would say overall, some good racing, some clean racing, some unfortunate mistakes. But yeah, definitely looking forward to next week, and I'm sure, you know, the 2 circuits that we have are going to be far more overtaking oriented.
Yeah, that's what we are hoping for next week. As we move on for next week, we will be back once again for United States and Brazil. Yeah, definitely 2 more orientated, overtaking orientated circuits, like you said, Softy, as we move on. But that has been TGP2 Season 22, Rounds 10 and 11. Join us next week for Rounds 12 and 13 from USA and Brazil. Any final thoughts, Softy?
Well, it's been a pleasure commentating today. Obviously, I'm glad I could commentate on some 2 good races, and I look forward to obviously watching next week.
Right, so thank you for joining us tonight, Softy. I've been your commentator, Owen Quemby. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on PS4.